We don't care where you were drafted. You outperform somebody, you're going to be on that football field. Now, again, there are extenuating circumstances where you draft a quarterback number 3 overall. Yeah, they're going to try him out for the next 3 to 4 years, even if he's not as good as anybody on that roster. But from Shador's perspective, that's probably the case. Tyler Huntley, Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of names on that list, not a lot of good names on that list, so he can earn a job on this football team.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every time he's there, he just finds a way, and he's going to break through. Look at Cameron Young. Cameron Young was one of those guys, too. Remember Cameron Young? Second in the Open Championship, fourth, plays great in majors, almost won the Canadian Open again. I seen this guy play live. I'm like, how does this guy not have a win? And then last week, Kev, you saw what he did. He put his foot on your throat, wrestling style. He didn't just win, he murdered the competition last week.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
He comes back, and what we're talking about, mid-August at that point, and then he gets a couple more starts and they're ready for postseason. So right now, I would say probably not an issue long-term. You know, obviously change the lines of what we're going to see today. I haven't seen the lines reopen, at least on the FanDuel Sportsbook. They're locked right now, so not an issue right now. As long as he comes back and he still has that plant leg and he's still strong with that, probably no worries for the Brewers right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Time to rise and grind with the Early Line right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Ranieri, and you know the drill. The next 2 hours, we got you covered on all the hottest topics across the sports landscape. You can't get enough, people. Did you like some Major League Baseball last night? How about the red-hot, surging Milwaukee Brewers? How about now the Seattle Mariners tied for first place with the Houston Astros, and so much more to get to? And did you know? Preseason week number 2 is on deck. Tomorrow, we got a doubleheader. It's our job, meaning me, Donnie Rightside, and you, Joe Ranieri, to let the people know how the rest of this day is going to play out right here on the SportsGrid Network. We have a big job to do, Joe. I think you're ready for it.
We take this task very seriously, Donnie, for folks to start their day with us, and we got a lot to catch up on, and a whole lot going on in Major League Baseball a little bit later today as well.
Oh, it's good stuff. It really is. And by the way, people want to get paid, Joe, 24/7. They like to say money never sleeps. We know what else doesn't sleep here? The Early Line, and bring you that information you need right off the bat. Breaking news, James Cook and the Bills reach a 4-year, $48 million extension. The hold-in works. The Buffalo Bills are ready to go. Pay your players. Get them in camp. Have them happy so you can start the season as Super Bowl contenders. The Buffalo Bills, as Ian Rappaport says, signed, sealed, and delivered James Cook.
Yeah, $38 million extension, $30 million guaranteed, which is the highest guaranteed money for a running back in the past 5 years. And listen, we talked about it leading up to this point, right? Of all the guys holding out, holding in, we thought this is probably the easiest one to get done, especially with Josh Allen telling everybody we need to get our running back in the huddle and let's get this thing finished with. So kudos to him and kudos to the Buffalo Bills for ending the drama here.
No, you had to do that. It was the right move to make. A young running back in his prime. Other running backs are getting paid. You're not an organization that's going like, oh, you know what, Joe? We're supposed to win 4 games this year. I'm not paying a running back money. No, the expectations are high. You're sitting here on Hard Knocks as the National League's football team of the summer. Get this guy signed, and I'm sure everybody will be tuned in next week to Hard Knocks as well. Ooh, let me see what went on behind the scenes to get James Cook in the building here. In the building, signed, sealed, delivered, and away we go. Let's start some quarterbacks here in the NFL. Let's talk about Jordan Love. How about this? Some injury to his hand, non-throwing hand. Says, you know what? No big deal. I'll be ready for opening day. But Jordan Love with an injury to his left hand, once again, non-throwing hand, as Ian Rappaport retweeted.
Yeah, not expecting to miss maybe just a week, more than a week here, I think. But the fact that it's his non-throwing hand, the sooner you address it, the better off it's going to be, Donnie. So the organization knew that. So kudos, get it in there, get it done, and get ready to play football here in a couple of weeks in week 1 of the regular season.
Yep, can still throw the football here. Just probably won't be taking any snaps from under center anytime soon, but the prognosis is good for Jordan Love. Should be there, ready to go to start the season in September, and that's what's most important. Injuries are expected, Joe, in camp, right? We understand that guys are going to get ankle injuries, hamstring injuries, and worst case scenario, ACL, MCL, and also Achilles injuries. But how about Najee Harris? He showed up to camp injured. Not with a wound to a hamstring, a groin, or an ankle, but to his eyes here. But Najee Harris back at running and doing drills at Chargers practice, trying to get himself ready for the regular season due to his fault on an injury off the field.
Yeah. Listen, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen watching at home, always understand which end of the Roman candle you're supposed to light. That's all I'm going to say there. But the reality is, whether he's available, not available, I do think that the Chargers are in pretty good position in the running back spot here. So I think however long it takes him to get back in there, I think they'll be just fine with the running game.
Superficial eye injury after a July 4th fireworks mishap. Leave it to the professionals, Joe Ranieri. You want to go watch fireworks? That doesn't mean you go light all fireworks. Now, having said that, every single grocery store or food store you go by is selling fireworks. Yes, they are fun. For some reason, a lot of us like to be pyromaniacs. But if you are a professional athlete, you can't be burning your eyes, Joe, on fireworks before camp starts. It's not smart. It's just not smart.
Oh. And also blow up your hand, JPP, but apparently he did and still managed to have a career. So I guess, what do we know here, Donnie?
Yeah, what do we know? I'll tell you one thing we do know is Pete Alonso can hit home runs here. He passes Darryl Strawberry for the all-time lead for the New York Mets in home runs. The only thing that was interesting to me is, usually you think all-time home run leaders, hey, man, what's got to have 450, 500, 600 home runs to do that on your own team throughout the history? 253. I was surprised it was that low for the New York Mets. Strawberry was a great power hitter into the 1980s, and now Pete Alonso takes the mantle. The big polar bear, the best to ever do it, at least home run-wise, in New York for the Mets.
Yeah, my question here, Donnie, is at what point does they have no problem writing checks in this Mets organization. So why are we not locking this guy up and making him a Met for life? I'm kind of curious. Why are we going into every offseason wondering whether Alonso is going to be a Met? Just lock him up. He's going to be a guy that is going to be part of the New York Mets lore for years to come. Lock him up here, Mets. Will you already?
I'll tell you what's interesting, too, about that, Joe, is the free agent process. Nobody else from other major league teams really was, I don't want to say interested in signing, but blowing the doors off to get Alonso. So it always felt like he was going to be a Met, and they got him back on a team-friendly deal at that point. You're right. There is always something interesting where you want to keep your superstars that the fans in town that can help you out, but there's also something about something's up with that negotiations. I wonder what that is. I'll tell you what these negotiations are up to. The Milwaukee Brewers are really good. They win every single day. But yesterday, a 10-game win streak. Oh, yeah? Now you got to beat Paul Skeens. Mission accomplished. 2 touchdowns on the board for the Milwaukee Brewers in a 14-0 drubbing, which saw Skeens go 4 innings, give up 4 earned runs in this game. 14-0. The win streak continues on for the Brew Crew.
It's kind of just crazy, really is, watching this team play, Donnie, where they are just fearless. And I'll say it again, it doesn't make a difference. Paul Skeens, bottom of the barrel, it doesn't make a difference. This team approaches each game the same way. And my goodness, they just dismantled Skeens, let the game off, by the way, with a home run. That's how the game started off of Skeens. And you knew they were in trouble after that. This is a team that is coming together at the right time. And if you're expecting them to go big time backwards, I don't see that happening anytime soon, Donnie.
No, big time. I like what I see from the Brewers right here, dominating performance. And by the way, just food for thought. Most people think like me, 7-9 as a pitcher, can't win the Cy Young. It's got to go to a guy on a good baseball team. Hint, Zach Wheeler at this point. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we get into it. How about the Mariners? They'll beat you and score a lot of runs. They'll hit home runs. They'll beat you 1-0 on the road as they did yesterday. I always love these games in baseball, Joe. How about one run in the top of the first inning and none the rest of the way? The Mariners scorching hot as well. My goodness.
And the best part is Kremer for the Orioles went 8 innings. I mean, he pitched 8 innings, and I think maybe that's why it only stayed at 1 run is because Baltimore didn't get their bullpen involved here. 5 hits, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. That is an old-fashioned pitcher's battle that I don't think anybody saw coming there last night.
By the way, the Sox hammered the Astros, a 1-0 win for the Mariners. Look at the standings right now, Joe. Woo! Virtual tie out there in the AL West. Let's get back over to the NBA. One thing I do know about, sales and acquisitions is once you sell a team or an entity for $6 billion, you want to call the shots. You're not going to buy that and be like, hey, you run this thing for me for a couple years till I want to step in. Stop the madness, Joe. Wick grows back. He's out immediately.
Yeah, like don't let the door hit you. And I mean, come on, Donnie. Like, what are we like? Go. Yeah. You got to go.
Take your money and run, baby. Love hurts. Yeah, we'll talk about Jordan Love next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Injury news is never good until that injury news actually turns into a little bit of a positive. You saw that in Philadelphia with Landon Dickerson, one of the best guards in football. Oh, no, he's out 6 to 8 months. He could be out 6 to 8 weeks. Now he might be out 6 to 8 days at this point, the way they're talking with a quick cleanup of the meniscus. But let's take a look at the Packers here, because you never want to have your quarterback injured and miss any time. Ian Rappaport tweeted yesterday, Packers Jordan Love tore a ligament in his left thumb and had a procedure to repair it. General manager Brian Gutekunst announced. He called it a little procedure. Quote, he shouldn't miss any regular season time after banging on a helmet taking a sack. We see that injury a lot in football, but typically it's the follow-through of the throwing hand that gets you in trouble, where you knock it on a helmet or a face mask or get that hit. Packers feeling fortunate, not going to miss any time, can still get those mental reps in, can still throw the football in practice. He should be ready to go in the regular season. That's a good news injury story for the Packers, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't limited in practice on Monday this week. So as long as he can throw the ball, this is one of those situations where if we're going to do it, we need to do it now. And, no harm, no foul. I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the Packers or to Jordan Love if he misses, week 2 of the preseason here. I'm sure that he probably might not have been playing an awful lot anyway. So all this means is, Donnie, maybe we see a little more of him in week 3 in that final preseason game.
What do we see, Joe? A lot more, shotgun snaps here. And I always like this. When you bang up one of your hands as a quarterback, the handoff sometimes a little bit tricky. Like you have to do that reverse handoff that we've seen so many times. Like, oh, broke my knuckle in the game. I can't hand off with my right hand or my left hand at this point. Maybe he has to do a little bit of that, but we're not anticipating any missed time here for the Packers and Jordan Love. Last year, you take a look at, or season odds to make it this year, I should say. 3,550.5 yards is his passing number. Should probably get that. 25.5 touchdown passes, meaning 26 to the over would catch that ticket. 30-plus tutties this year, Joe, plus 185. And the MVP, no shot at 20-1. How you feel about those numbers?
Well, listen, those numbers are
20-1.
Impressive.
Come on.
He was another guy, Donnie, and I think, Young in Carolina is another guy. We saw the game in real time slow down for Jordan Love. Remember when we were looking at him to start again going, this is awful. Like, this guy is just, I cannot believe you drove Aaron Rodgers out of town for this. And then all of a sudden, something clicked with him. And all of a sudden, we're going, I mean, look at those numbers. We're talking about a totally different guy. I think Bryce Young, the same thing happened to him last year, where all of a sudden we watched it click. And now I think both those guys moving forward are going to put up some pretty big numbers with really good head coach, offensive-minded head coaches. I think the Packers and Jordan Love are going to be just fine this year. Don't forget, he missed a couple of games last year, right, to start. Wasn't it Malik Willis started in his place? And I think the Packers won both of those games. So the Packers are going to be fine regardless here. But Jordan Love, he's ready for another big year.
But the Packers always feel like that overlooked team, if you will. Like, oh, it's always about Detroit. Oh, the fun team is Chicago. Hey, new quarterback in Minnesota. It's like, no, the Packers actually made the playoffs last year. Yeah, they lost to eventual champions. We understand that. And Jordan Love's a pretty good quarterback. But they did fight the Eagles tough in the playoffs. And also, if you remember, in the opening game of the season for the Eagles and the Packers down in Brazil on that Friday night, fought the Eagles as well right down to the wire. So fun team to watch. Jordan Love's going to be there. Take a deep breath. Exhale. It's going to be okay, Packer fans. Also, the Buffalo Bills fans exhaling here. Why? They got James Cook back in the fold. He did everything right. Didn't slam the team, gets upset at times, shows up to camp, puts his work. But you know what always helps out? When your all-world MVP quarterback gets in front of the microphone and is like, this guy's got to be signed, man. Like, we really need this guy. You know what happens a couple days later? The guy gets signed. 4 years, $48 million. He's happy with the pay. You can give him the football 25 times a game, and away you go into your season. This is how good organizations handle things. Hey, player's not too happy right now. Player shows he's going to come to camp. Player's going to work out hard. Player's going to get paid. Hey, Cincinnati Bengals, Trey Hendrickson, we're looking at you. But the Bengals get their man 4 for 48. Love to see this. Week number 1, they're hitting the ground running, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was a necessary part, and they're pretty good in the running back spot here, right? That Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, and now Cook. I mean, they are pretty good in the running back spot, but clearly Cook was a difference maker there. And it's not like the Bills had always, they were on the fence about paying. The Bills had always maintained they wanted to pay him. They said it throughout the offseason. They said it when when camp began. It was, to me, it was just a matter of time before they got there. And now the guy's got, a $45 million deal, $30 million guaranteed. And all of a sudden, I mean, they've locked up Josh Allen, their defensive end Rousseau, their cornerback Benford, Khalil Shakir, locked up now for another 4 years, their linebacker Terrell Bernard, and now James Cook, all locked up for the Buffalo Bills for the foreseeable future. That's pretty impressive.
No, it is good, and that's what you're supposed to do. And also understand this, too. Like, the Buffalo Bills working in a stadium, which I think they've been in for about 50 years now. Highmark Stadium, used to be Old Rich Stadium. I mean, it has a number of name changes over the years. But as you see, moving into that new stadium, which they already have a rich owner anyway. There's never an excuse. But now he sees that more money on the horizon. Let me just take this team over into that new facility. Maybe we win a championship this year. Maybe we don't. But let's keep everybody happy. And the goal is to win, which means keeping your best players happy, the guys that are instrumental to your team, which include, as you said, Josh Allen, 6 years, $330 million. There's a lot of investments, but I always love, Joe, like the man that has the ear of the owner at all times is the world-class superstar quarterback. And when he says in front of a microphone, I need this guy, like I need this guy back in camp, that happens. If a quarterback of his ilk stands in front of the microphone and doesn't say that, who knows if it lays out? For me, just from past experience. You go back to 2004. Donovan McNabb didn't say a damn thing about Terrell Owens, and they almost fist-fought each other every day in practice to get his money. You don't have that. Harmony, Joe. That's how you start a season with harmony. Usually good things happen.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's not like T.O. didn't say enough for everybody. So there really wasn't any point in saying
T.O.'s
anything
better.
because you couldn't get
T.O.'s
a word in
player.
because Terrell Owens never shut up. So a little different story here where Cook just maintained, hey, it's business. And you know what? The business got completed here today.
I'm telling you right now, too. Like T.O., I'm being serious. You go Donovan McNabb or Terrell Owens, who was the better Eagle? You might get 50-50 right now that Owens was the better Eagle. The guy played like 18 games for the Eagles. I'm telling you, McNabb in Philadelphia, oil and water, man. It really is. We'll talk baseball next. Big doings. Don't talk about it with us.
It's threading the needle of a good Cubbies number. But at plus 850, that's tempting. At 17-1 to win a World Series, it becomes interesting. It does. And I would even say the Mets are a little tempting. I know they're struggling massively right now. I understand that. And I think there is a doom and gloom nature.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Tigers aren't out of first place. They're still in first place, Tom, by 5 games over the Cleveland Guardians. But you see, like, last 10 games, Detroit Tigers 5-5. Last 10 games, Guardians. Winners of 9 of 11 games, winners of 5 straight games. They're only 5 back now than the Kansas City Royals, sitting at 8.5 back. The Detroit Tigers, so much fun this year, but now facing adversity with a month and a half left in the season.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point, if Aaron Jones misses time, where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16-1, Joe. 60-1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team, and we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All eyes on the prize, people. Are you still doubting out there? Do you still watch Major League Baseball and go, it's always going to be the Dodgers. Don't worry. It'll be the Philadelphia Phillies. The Yankees will get it together. The Houston Astros are always there at the end. But the one thing we do know is the Milwaukee Brewers, not used to winning World Series, but you can't deny them right now, Joe. 75 wins on the Major League Baseball season. The best overall record in Major League Baseball. They just went up against arguably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball and came away with a football score of 14-0 over the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Milwaukee Brewers should be getting their flowers right now, but still, even in the back of my mind, Joe, I say to myself, are they good enough to win a World Series at this point? And as Bill Parcells always told us, you are what your record says you are. They're the best team in Major League Baseball.
It's not even close, but they're one of the best teams in the history of baseball, Donnie. When you start diving into these numbers, this 11-game winning streak is their second of the season. It's also the second longest in their franchise history. They are just the third team since World War II with multiple win streaks of at least 11 games or more in a season. We haven't seen it since, I believe, the old Cleveland team there in 54 and the Blue Jays of 2015. They are the first National League team to have multiple winning streaks of 11 or more games since the 1935 Chicago Cubs. We're in uncharted territory with what this team is doing right now.
No, absolutely. And you take a look, too, like right off the bat, like, all right, Skeens, what do you got? Frelick, bam, home run. Did you know they hit 5 home runs? We don't talk enough about the Brewers' bats because you look at the lineup again, it's like, hey, some know Contreras, everybody knows Yelich, but the rest of the lineup is like, I don't know these guys or how to get involved. That would be true, Joe, 2 weeks into the season. Hey, look at the Brewers, 7-5. They're having a good start to the season. No, they're 75-44, and they do it different ways. I keep talking about this ad nauseum, Joe, because you can win 1-0, that's fine. But you need to win it all ways. Coming back, having big leads, fighting off teams, beating them down 14-0. And this wasn't a start with a bad pitcher. We're like, hey, you know what? AAA guys coming up for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Don't worry about this game. This was Paul Skeens, the leader in the clubhouse to be the NL Cy Young winner. They lit him up right away and continued to pulverize that bullpen. That was as an impressive shot across the bow. We're here to stay because what are the doubts now? Oh, they win all these games. Well, they don't beat good teams or good pitchers. They just smoked Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates because you could say the Pirates aren't bad. The Pirates didn't score last night and got beat by 2 touchdowns.
And if you look, Donnie, at the markets, which are all over the Dodgers, making it seem like you shouldn't even bother betting anybody else because the Dodgers are going to win the National League pennant. They're going to win the World Series. And yet we watched them smoke the Dodgers in a couple of series already this year. And keep in mind, too, they're not just doing it at the plate. They actually have led the majors since in the month of August. They have 23 home runs since the start of August. That's tops in Major League Baseball. They picked up Andrew Vaughn off the scrap heap from the Chicago White Sox where he was barely hitting $175, and now all of a sudden he's got 32 RBIs since joining them on July 7th. And the pitchers, by the way, best pitchers ERA as well over the last month, too. They're doing it in both sides, Donnie.
Love to see it. You love it. Win streak to another win streak. Let's go out to the AL West. 8 in a row. The Seattle Mariners. 1-0 victory over the Baltimore Orioles, which again is that funny, let's score in the top of the first inning and nobody score the rest of the way. That's usually a Mariners win at home. Like, hey, they can never get base hits, but they're doing it different ways. And includes George Kirby, improved to 8-5 on the season. 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA down to 3.71 here. The Mariners 67-53, virtual tie with the Astros. Love what I see out of the M's right now.
There's nothing not to like, but is it sustainable? I mean, you went 8 innings against Dean Kremer and you only got 1 run, and that was in the first inning. So I don't know that they're in the same category as the Milwaukee Brewers, but I definitely think Seattle is going to be in the picture when it comes down to it in the postseason here. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if they're staying home.
Yep. Joe, big flies in the Big Apple. How about Pete Alonso launching yet another home run, taking over as the all-time lead for the New York Mets? And Aaron Judge, welcome back to the party. First home run since coming off the IL. The big boys in the big city doing it big last night.
That was a big home run, too. One of the first at-bats there to get it going. And then, it starts with him. When he hits, you notice the run production that you get from the Yankees. And when Aaron Judge gets it back going here, and it should be a very interesting rest of August for them.
I'll tell you what else is interesting. Buy or sell AFC North Division coming up next on the early line.
Ooh.
It's threading the needle of a good Cubbies number. But at plus 850, that's tempting. At 17 to 1 to win a World Series, it becomes interesting. It does. And I would even say the Mets are a little tempting. I know they're struggling massively right now. I understand that. And I think there is a doom and gloom nature.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Tigers aren't out of first place. They're still in first place, Tom, by 5 games over the Cleveland Guardians. But you see, last 10 games, Detroit Tigers 5-5. Last 10 games, Guardians. Winners of 9 of 11 games, winners of 5 straight games. They're only 5 back now than the Kansas City Royals, sitting at 8.5 back. The Detroit Tigers, so much fun this year, but now facing adversity with a month and a half left in the season.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
He is not Derrick Henry. He is not one of those special backs in that sense. A really good one that's been outstanding in fantasy for quite some time. But you can also hear the buzz recently about it being more of a split backfield. And if that's so, then Aaron Jones' value takes a hit, Jordan Mason's value goes up, and there's an opportunity at some point, if Aaron Jones misses time, where you can see Jordan Mason take that backfield over.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
The Mets are a game and a half up in the wild card race from the Cincinnati Reds. But the Cincinnati Reds are 16 to 1, Joe. 60 to 1 to win the pennant here. But I do find myself looking at the New York Mets saying, there's too much talent on that team. And we know how things work out, even with the Philadelphia Phillies in the playoffs last year. Hey, we're a good baseball team. Mets get hot at the end of the year. Mets knock the Phillies out of the playoffs. We've seen that happen before.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody loves a little buy or sell at times in your life, right? Buy a house, buy a car, sell a car. Do what you got to do out here. It's Donnie Rightside and it's Joe Ranier. We're going to focus here in the NFL, and that is the AFC North. Now, you got some really good football teams in there, which do include the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, maybe they could win a Super Bowl this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers. You always know they win football games. Are we going to get full harmony in that Cincinnati Bengals locker room if Trey Hendrickson ever shows up? Then there is the Cleveland Browns, who are probably going to bring up the rear in that division. So, Joe, I'm going to ask you this. Are you ready for a little buy or sell AFC Norris division?
Yeah, listen, this is, I think, one of the easier divisions to figure out here, Donnie. There's a few divisions like the AFC North where I don't see any reason at this point to overthink it. I think it's pretty cut and dry who the best team is, and then there's just everybody else at this point.
All right, let's hit the locker room here in the Cleveland side of things, because what we saw in week number 1 of the preseason, a lot of people liked Shedeur Sanders. If we're taking a look at the Cleveland Browns depth chart right now for quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Yes, most people liked what Shedeur did in game number 1. Dylan Gabriel's going to get a chance to show out. So is Kenny Pickett and also Joe Flacco. Understand this. Coaches, general managers, and front office personnel in the NFL will tell you this, Joe. You don't actually win that job in the game. It just sort of cements your status. You win that job in the locker room by being a leader, in the meeting room by showing the understanding of the playbook and how things get done. And more importantly, you go out and prove it day after day after day in practice. That's how it gets done. You can have a great drive in the preseason. That's all the fans see. Ow, Shedeur should be the starter. That's not the case, and it's not the way it works here. But the buy or sell question I'm asking you today, Joe, Shedeur Sanders will start the most games for the Browns this season. Buy or sell?
That's so hard here at this point. I'm going to say buy. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
And I think a couple of things are going in his favor right now. Number one, he sells tickets and he gets eyeballs and he is interesting. And the Browns, who, let's not forget, under Stefanski, they won 11 games twice in his first 4 years coaching, right? And he ended up winning Coach of the Year, I think, twice during those seasons. But then ownership thought it'd be great to trade for Deshaun Watson. And then the wheels came off and they went 3-14 last year. But I can make the argument that Stefanski has done more with less with his time at the Browns than any other coach in the NFL. So if he can still figure it out, it's not like they don't have talent here. They got Judy, they got Njoku, they've got a pretty stable running back crew, young, right? Judkins, if he stays out of jail, would be great. But they've got talent, Donnie. Now they just need somebody not to shoot them in the foot like Deshaun Watson did all the time. You know, they say if you got 4 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. But I do think the biggest upside here would be Shedeur Sanders from a PR standpoint, as well as possibly winning games here. So they will probably overperform, but I think it's going to be because Shedeur Sanders is under center.
And sometimes just the optics of the organization can change your opinion. What I mean by that is, like, Kevin Stefanski isn't a fly-by-night coach, like Callahan down in who is it for who's the head coach of the Titans? Is it Callahan?
Tennessee. Oh,
yeah, Tennessee.
About, yeah, Dallas. No, that's Schottenheimer. I'm sorry. Callahan is Tennessee.
It's Tennessee, right? Yeah, no, it's just a little brain freeze right there. So he's the like, if he goes out this year and has a bad season, he doesn't have anything to fall back on. Like, oh, well, we're just going to have to go in a different direction. You're not my coach. The reason I brought that up is Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. And it wasn't like, oh, he won it back in 2007. Like, it was 2020 and 2023. So he should have enough cachet in that organization. Not to say this, like, Brian Daboll has no cachet. Neither does the general manager for the New York Giants either, and Joe Shane. So they're going like, ooh, self-preservation mode. At least we got to play Russ the entire season so we can win 4 games and our idiot owner will bring us back. That shouldn't be the case with Jimmy Haslam in Cleveland, where he should be able to go to Jimmy Haslam and say, I know Flacco might bring us an extra win or two, but I see something in Shedeur Sanders and or Dylan Gabriel. They need to play this year. I got to find out about these guys, because if they are the right guys, we're going to have a very bright future. If they're not, we're going to head back into the draft. A lot of general managers and a lot of coaches can't do that with an ownership group who says, don't embarrass me this season or I will fire you. So when I look in like a buy or sell, should Shedeur Sanders actually start more games than Flacco, Pickett, or Gabriel, I actually would like to buy that. And typically you'd say, well, Flacco's probably going to get 7-8 games. They'll probably try Kenny Pickett, and then at the end of the season, hand it over to Shedeur. That's a terrible ploy for the Cleveland Browns, because understanding you're not winning a Super Bowl this year. There are unbelievably talented teams in your division. What is your only goal this year? Find your quarterback. And if you don't find him, that's even better. That probably means you won 3 football games and you get a chance at another quarterback in the draft next year if you feel Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel aren't the ones here. So for me, I want to buy it because he should be starting more games. What's the point of a season? Hey, 17 games for Flacco, 6 wins. That's the worst case scenario you can ever think of for an NFL team like the Browns.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's part of me that thinks they had hoped, and they brought Flacco, not necessarily to be the guy, because I think they hoped Pickett could be that stopgap, right, between the young quarterbacks and everything, because Pickett's younger. He's got the experience in the division. I mean, he's nothing more than a backup quarterback anyway, but that's basically what you had. That's what you signed up for this year. But for a team that is supposed to win 4 games, maybe at most 5, this team has got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. If they can hit lightning and get competent quarterback play, I think they can surprise some people.
But again, what is your operation for the Cleveland Browns to be successful this year? Is it trying to make the playoffs? Is it winning as much games as possible, which means like 6 or 7? Is it finding your quarterback, or just showing like stability as an organization? Because for me, it's find me the quarterback, because unless you have the quarterback, you have nothing on that football team. Like, what is success for you for this football team this upcoming season?
Well, don't forget, they had Flacco on this football team in one of those seasons, right? Was it 23 when, they brought him off? So I don't think Stefanski gets enough credit, because I'm telling you, this guy has done those 11-win seasons that he had there with the Browns. There was a lot of questions there's always a question at the quarterback spot with the Browns. It's been like that for 30 years, Donnie. The reality is, I don't think it's going to take you an entire season to figure out that you don't have a quarterback. So the question is, well, what's left? Well, what's left is, you've done this before, Stefanski. You've never really had a true franchise quarterback, but you've had talent on both sides of the ball. Can you surprise a few teams here this year? I think they can, provided it's one of the younger quarterbacks here that steps up and shows out here this year.
But by the way, for me, like in the offseason, like I never thought they should have signed Myles Garrett. Great football player. Trade him, pick up multiple first-round draft picks, and move on with your life. Because here's what I always like about this too, Joe, right? You say, well, you can't lose Myles Garrett. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Look at their team total. They have Myles Garrett. It's 4.5. Like, what's the point of that? Like, if Jerry Jones was running the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons wanted to reset the market and be the highest paid football player in the history of the sport, and Dallas had a 4.5 total, I go, Jerry, you're an idiot. You've got to trade this guy and not pay him. It's not going to equate to victories. So for the people out there, oh, you got to have that defense up here. Yes, Myles Garrett might be the best defender in the NFL, a 4.5 team total. What did we sign him for? Same thing with the quarterback and how it fits perfectly here. Unless you have a quarterback, you know what you're doing next year again, Joe? Yeah, it's a 4.5. You have to find your quarterback, or nothing else matters in the NFL, Joe. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Or you better be really good, especially in the AFC North. You better be able to run the ball in December and January. And you better have a guy that can throw the ball in 30-mile-an-hour winds. I'm just saying, that's the reality of the AFC North.
What, Jameis Winston and Nick Chubb didn't work out for you? You know what I mean? Come on now, Cleveland. Get it together. You know, we're going to shift focus right now. There's a team that used to be in Cleveland that now resides in Baltimore. We're going to talk Lamar Jackson, because you know how good a football player he is. But how good a football player is he really in the playoffs, and does that matter? Come on back, buy or sell, Ravens.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
You know, out of 30 teams game, only 10 have a winning record against left-handed pitchers. 10-19, and there's one team that's 12-12.
See, I
think it's the Yankees.
Yeah. See, I didn't know the exact number, Scott, but I would have, I knew where you were going with this. In which there's just not as many left-handed hitters. They're not as good against them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You have to imagine it'll be Rory and Tommy. So that is just such a strong foursomes pairing. And then I look over here at the Americans. I'm like, golly, if Patrick Cantlay they just need him to make the team because you got Scotty and Russell. If Xander's going out, you have to him and Pat have been so good in the foursomes. Bryson's going to have to play. Who's he going to play with?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, those Baltimore Ravens. Every time you look at them, each and every year to start the season, it's Donnie writes out, it's Joe Ranieri. You say to yourself, this team can win a Super Bowl. What's holding them back? Great offensive line, great running game, great quarterback, weapons that you can deal with, solid tight ends, wide receivers that can get open, a defense that can absolutely pulverize opposing teams' quarterback, one of the best defensive backfields in the NFL, the favorites to win the Super Bowl, the favorite for the quarterback to win the MVP. When do we put it all together? Sooner than later is usually what you think that happens. We all fall into this trap, and I've done it multiple years. Let me take them at a good price to start the season and watch them by November be the best team in football and then say, what just happened in January 15th, January 23rd, and who knows if they can ever even get to February, which means they would be making a Super Bowl. The focus here is on Lamar Jackson, his playoff statistics, 3-5, 13 total touchdowns, 11 turnovers. He does have 2 MVPs, but has never reached a Super Bowl. I couldn't have been more upset with the game plan than I watched them go up against Kansas City and lose for Kansas City to get to yet another Super Bowl. Sometimes I just don't understand it, but the question is valid. The buy or sell, I'm going to ask you right now, Joe. Lamar Jackson will win a Super Bowl in his career.
It's not going to be for a lack of talent, Donnie. We know this, but we've got a few guys in this Lamar Jackson category. We could throw Lamar Jackson's name out and put Josh Allen in. There's a few guys that we can do that with. Will they ever win a Super Bowl? Because they've been close. They've been surrounded by the talent. For whatever reason, when push came shove, they can't seem to get past that one guy. Oh, yeah, what's his name? Mahomes. And unfortunately, there were a lot of things that went very well for Baltimore last year, including the fact, Donnie, do you know they were the number 1 healthiest team last year? Injuries did not play a big role on that team last year. So I could make the argument the best shot for them last year to win a Super Bowl was last year. That was the time for them to be able to make a run, but they couldn't get past Buffalo. And you can, of course, thank their wonderful, long-standing tight end there for that. But the reality is they are going to keep plugging away. They are still the best team in the AFC North. If they stay healthy, the more times you get to that point, Donnie, at some point you think they got to be able to break through. You got to lose before you win. So I'm buying on Lamar eventually winning one, but that window is closing quickly, Donnie. This is another, I think, Super Bowl or bust year for Lamar in Baltimore.
It absolutely is. Like, you get those expectations. Like, nobody's like, hey, Justin Herbert hasn't won a Super Bowl. You're like, kid's young, just not ready to win it yet. But Lamar Jackson, year in, year out, is one of the best players in the league, which shows why he's a 2-time MVP. And quite frankly, didn't win the MVP last year. Like, it just do like silhouettes of like different players throughout history. What if I told you a quarterback completed 67% of his passes, 4,172 yards? 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 119 passer rating, and can run for 1,000 yards if he feels like it here. Like, he is the ultimate weapon in the NFL, but something just doesn't click in the playoffs. And quite frankly, it's not always his fault. Yes, you've watched struggles. Yes, you watched him at Kansas City at home throw the dumbest interceptions at the worst time. But also you saw players like Zay Flowers fumble on the goal line when they're trying to get back into that football game. And yes, you understand that. What is going on with your offensive game plan where you just decide to throw the football all over the lot instead of just running it and throwing it when you need to? So it's not as if it's always Lamar Jackson. Did you watch the Buffalo Bills game? Yeah, early on, Lamar Jackson took a sack and fumbled the football. You don't like to see that. But late in the game, how about a perfect pass to Mark Andrews over the middle? Mark Andrews catches it, turns upfield, fumbles the football. Oh, no. How about him leading him all the way back in a 2-point conversion that he throws right into the chest of Mark Andrews, and he just drops it there. So it's not as if it's just Lamar Jackson. Yes, he feeds into it at times, but I just want to know like what that disconnect is. How can you be so good and so dominant? And then when you get to the playoffs, Joe, most of the time, it's January. It's late December. It's freezing cold temperatures. He's the perfect quarterback. Oh, it's a little rainy out? Yeah, you can't tackle Lamar Jackson. Oh, there's 40-mile-an-hour winds? Good. He'll run around and rush for 150 yards on that day, which most quarterbacks cannot do. What is the disconnect that we see from the regular season MVP Lamar Jackson to cowering in the playoffs?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's so much Lamar. I think it's a team situation, Donnie. And here's a statistic I'll give you. Since 2020, do you know the Ravens are 23-24 in one-score games? So I'll repeat, 23-24 in one-score games over the last 4 years. The Chiefs are 9-1 in one-score game in playoff games over the last 5 years. You see a difference, Donnie? The problem is when you lose that many close games, you're almost like expecting to lose those games, right? Because they haven't won more of them, which is kind of shocking. So when you have a team whose mentality is, we're probably going to, we don't win these one-score games. And guess what? You don't. Something has got to change. And until we see that change, I don't know that they're ever going to get over the hump. The Chiefs, they know how to win one-score games, Donnie. They know how to win when it matters the most. Lamar and the Ravens are not that team yet.
Yeah, because there's been so many times in the playoffs where, like, you expect greatness. Like, remember watching Tom Brady for so many years. Give him the football with 2 minutes to go and watch him just perform absolute magic with ice water in his veins. You've seen Patrick Mahomes do that at times as well. You just can't stop the guy. Oh, you're going to give him 13 seconds to score? Bing, bong, boop. There's a field goal. We're going to end up knocking out the Buffalo Bills, like on the biggest stage, delivering the best performances. And so many times, like we see Lamar Jackson, who does perform well at times in the playoffs, but in big moments, like, what was that throw? Like, what are you doing? You just can't have that. But is this, let me ask you this question, the best Ravens team that we've seen over the past couple years? It looks like start to finish, every position, they got it covered this year, Joe.
They do, but they did last year too, and they still managed to lose games against Jacksonville and the Raiders somehow. And they lost a lot of games last year, Donnie, that they should not have lost, and they were a good team, and they were one of the healthiest teams in the league. So they are the best team in the AFC North by far. Does that translate, though, in January?
I'll tell you what should translate. 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like, that's supposed to be a Super Bowl line here for a quarterback in the NFL. Didn't even get him MVP last year. Let's go over to the Cincinnati Bengals. Will they bungle Trey Hendrickson? Come on back. Let's talk about it.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
You know, out of 30 teams game, only 10 have a winning record against left-handed pitchers. 10-19, and there's one team that's 12-12.
See, I
think it's the Yankees.
Yeah. See, I didn't know the exact number, Scott, but I would have, I knew where you were going with this, in which there's just not as many left-handed hitters. They're not as good against them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You have to imagine it'll be Rory and Tommy. So that is just such a strong foursomes pairing. And then I look over here at the Americans. I'm like, golly, if Patrick Cantlay they just need him to make the team because you got Scotty and Russell. If Xander's going out, you have to him and Pat have been so good in the foursomes. Bryson's going to have to play. Who's he going to play with?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Cincinnati Bengals. It's Joe Burrow. It's a trio of wide receivers. We know they can score, but also from last year, Joe Ranieri, we know they can't stop anybody. But how about the offseason, which included a lot of high-priced signings, which meant they're wide receivers? We thought it might be one or the other. You're going to get T. Higgins or you're going to get Jamar Chase. You can't have both. Well, you know what? The Cincinnati Bengals did get both. Chase, a 4-year, $161 million contract. T. Higgins, 4 for $115. And hey, Shamar Stewart, I hate this organization. I'll never play. Oh, yeah? How about this? We'll come to an agreement. 4 years, $18.97. The rookie is in camp. That's one side of the defensive line that's figured out. You know who's on the other side? Maybe the best sack artist in the NFL over the past 2 seasons. That's Trey Hendrickson. He's holding in right now. Hey, look, Micah Parsons is holding in. He doesn't have a contract. Cook, we just talked about, he was holding in. He got his contract. Terry McLaurin, I think he's just rehabbing and hanging out at the facility. He doesn't have his contract. But usually pressure bursts pipes, which means we have a couple more weeks before the regular season does start here. But the questions are always up with the Bengals. Messing with your best football players is not a recipe for success. I'm going to ask you this buy or sell question, Joe Ranieri. Trey Hendrickson will not play for the Bengals this season.
The problem is the Bengals organizationally, Donnie, are one of the worst. This ownership group is just head scratching. It really is. The idea that this guy, you've got enough problems. And one of your biggest problems last year was the defensive side of the ball, which you sacrificed one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL in Lou Anarumo. You basically threw him under the bus, even though you would continually not sign the players or bring back the players or pay the players on the defensive side of the ball that you should have. So now here we come to an impasse with a guy that is an absolute monster. This guy is a sack machine. He is exactly the kind of guy that you need to anchor a defense with a bunch of young guys that you drafted on that side of the ball. He needs to be there. This is a guy you got to man up and pay. Everybody else paid in the league and reset the market for this position. It's the second most important position behind the quarterback. You've got one of the best, if not the best at it in the game. And we're still having this conversation heading into week 2 of the preseason. I can't think of anything more Bengals than that, Donnie. So, I would want to fade that, but I would want to sell that. But the reality is it's the Bengals. So part of me has to buy that whole statement.
It's fun because, again, look at Trey Hendrickson, and you're so right about Lou Anarumo. 2 to 3 years ago, he was like the hottest commodity on the market as the best defensive coordinator. Why? Because he had some players he could work with. They're making Super Bowl runs. Then you take all his players away. It's like, wow, he stinks. We got to fire him and bring in Al Golden with the same group. It's almost like Bill Belichick. Yeah, he got fired from the Cleveland Browns as a head coach because they couldn't win football games. Oh, well, we went with the Patriots. Look, yeah, Tom Brady was there. Do you see what happened when Tom Brady left? He ended up getting fired because he didn't have great football players to sort of help out his scheme. Same thing with the Bengals on defense. But this one doesn't make sense to me. Because I don't think the Bengals are looking at Trey Hendrickson as a commodity, because this went on hey, go out and get yourself a trade. We knew that was fake because you knew there were going to be 2 to 3 first-round picks coming back for Trey Hendrickson. But also when Trey's gone, every other player, which includes in my division and in my conference, is getting paid at defensive end. I just want what's coming to me. I'm not coming off a knee injury. I'm not coming off a 6-sack performance where I promise I'll be better. I lead the league in sacks over the past 2 years. I'm just looking for a fair deal. I know I'm at the end of my career in the prime where I don't need a 6 to 7 year deal, but just pay me what I'm worth. And And we don't really think you're worth all that much. When this is such a key year where the Bengals should be all in and adding pieces to the defense, they drafted a first-round player to get sacks here. Then you have Trey Hendrickson. You're going to be playing from the lead. You need sack artists on that defense. So buy yourself for me. I think he absolutely plays because no football player, Joe, is going to sit out and miss big paychecks for more than 1 or 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. He might come back and be disgruntled, but he is coming back.
Yeah, I believe they'll get the job done because they have to get the job done. But with the Bengals, Donnie, like a lot of other teams, the biggest issue for the Bengals hasn't been Joe Burrow, hasn't been the weapons, and really hasn't even been the defense when you have a guy leading the league in sacks. It's that you have managed to get a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow and surround him for 4 years straight with the single worst offensive line in the National Football League, who cannot protect him or run the football. It's absolutely amazing. The only reason they've ever won as many games as they have over the last 4 years is Joe Burrow without an offensive line.
Joe Burrow out there making plays in the pocket, having some good, stepping up to the plate. And he's going to have to throw for a lot of yards this year, and I think he will. Yeah. But that defense needs Trey Hendrickson. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Buy or sell next, Steelers edition. Come on back.